$1 million Supermans, $1 million Babe Ruths, $1 million hobby boxes, $1 million everything. Is the hobby and collectibles made for rich people? Well, tonight on The Ungraded Truth, we're going to talk about just that. Detective Comics set a record for 1.8 million. Nobody really cares.
Who are annoyed that people are asking them questions, is this book banned? That question didn't exist a year ago.
Somebody's submitting like 25 vintage books and getting 15 9.9s.
We always think, how can it ever get crazier? And then it always does.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the #1 show in the universe, The Ungraded Truth, the only collectible show where you get the truth. Compared to all the other shows on the entire internet, everybody is lying to you. But this is the show where you get it all, the fastest growing podcast in the world. And I am joined by my fellow co-hosts, of course, like always, 99 Newsstand Manu. We got Ryan, Automatic Comics, and Rob, Neo Cards and Comics, I, of course, and Mickey Swagglehauss. Gentlemen, it's good to see you. How are you guys doing this fine evening?
Well, there's some exciting things going on right now. I mean, I think we have some interesting topics to talk about, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I have a new microphone for all our friends in the chat that were so kind about saying my audio was absolute crap. I hope I've satisfied you guys. Hello, everyone.
Well, you know, there was a lot of haters out there on Manu's audio, a lot of people doubting us, thinking that we don't have the technical capability to keep this show going. A lot of people never thought that we could ever make it to episode #2. But here we are. Look at us now. What do you say to them, Rob?
Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate. Well, how are they gonna hate when we have the fastest growing YouTube on all of YouTube? Boys and girls, The Ungraded Truth YouTube is a real thing. We're going to be, dropping all of our videos on it. And we're thinking like, hey, even though we stream it to our normal channels, like maybe we want to eventually stream it to an actual, YouTube that is meant for the show. But if you guys want to help us out, maybe you want to sub it up. I mean, we started the other week with 0 subscribers. Now we're at 81. That's an increase of 81 million %. If I do my math correctly, which means
I think it's infinity %. I mean, like nobody has ever grown at this rate.
No show in the history of shows has ever grown at that rate. And so you may want to hop on this train. But yeah, we have an incredible show tonight. A lot of interesting topics going on in the world. We got the Superman ones to talk about. We got PSA 10s to talk about. We got Babe Ruth cards to talk about, Panini tops. It's going to be a really, really great show. And so thank you all to everyone hanging out in the chat tonight. But before we get into our first topic, it was Halloween yesterday. I just was curious, if you guys happen to have done anything for Halloween, or maybe people in the chat, maybe you guys went out to your party or something like that. Check me out. I have to kind of show off that I was Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. I thought that was a pretty fun, cool costume. Gentlemen, did you guys do anything for Halloween last night?
I do not go out to parties anymore. We dressed up our dogs and walked around the neighborhood so that other people could see our dogs dressed up in costumes. But that was the extent of our Halloween fun.
I didn't actually do anything for Halloween. I love Halloween. I love this time of year. It's my favorite. But no, there wasn't any going out. I've got some family in town. We did some hanging out. They did some other stuff with some more family, but it was kind of just a chill night. I just kind of enjoyed the energy of October, and it kind of came and went really fast, but it's still my favorite season for a couple more months, so I'm happy.
What about you, Rob? Did you go and do anything?
No.
Did nothing. Do you guys even get do you get trick-or-treaters at your guys' place anymore? Like, I feel like I was having this conversation where I feel like the safe streets have become so popular now that trick-or-treaters no longer go up to like random houses in the neighborhoods. And all these years I bought candy thinking I was going to give it out, and I never do.
Well, I mean, for us, like the neighbors, so we live down a hill, and we always just joke that the kids are too lazy to walk down the hill because then they got to walk back up it to get the candy. And so they stay up in the neighborhood that's up, kind of on the main hill. But it's definitely a big change, I feel like, from when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, nobody ever sat out on their porches to hand out candy or like out in their driveways. But that's what everybody does now. It's like you don't even go to a house now if there's if there's nobody outside. Like it was always ringing the doorbell or knocking on the door when I was a kid, and that just doesn't seem like that's the way anymore. But I don't know. I'm old. That
Yeah.
was a few decades ago. So
I want to take just a second because this is important. We do have some helpful feedback in the chat. Dark Alley says 99's mic is low. At the same time, while I was asking, how's my audio? And then Richard says, little low, but good. So I am new to this mic thing and its setup and so on and so forth. I imagine if I'm closer to it, it's louder. If I'm further away from it, it's quieter. I won't interrupt to adjust the gain right now. I'll speak up and I'll stay close to the mic. But if it becomes really bad, guys, definitely let me know. It is my goal to make this very, very enjoyable for you. So I'm listening to the feedback and I appreciate it. Donnie Boy
you're getting in
McCoy,
his
what
head.
up?
Chat's getting in his head.
You're already in
I
my
want you
head.
guys to know, I know, yeah, the commenters were very, very quick to point out Manu's audio issues. And I'll just tell you guys that after the show and in the days leading up to the second episode, he felt really, really bad about it. So you guys
Terrible.
definitely achieved it, making him feel guilty about it. But we're going to table that. We're not going to talk about mic issues anymore. We're going to go and not bury the lead here and jump into our first topic, which of course is what we got on the thumbnail. The PSA Uncanny X-Men 266 10.0 is just a day away from selling, and it's currently sitting at a bid of $8,200, which would make this, I believe, at least on record, the world record for this book in terms of like someone paying a certain amount of money for it. I mean, of course, the previous record was a 9.9 that sold in a CGC case some years back, pre-comic book boom, that went for a 3,000 something. I do believe that, and I'll let you guys kind of carry over or pick up this talking point. I do believe that there was a sale on Comic Link that hasn't been entered into, the data. But two sales. We'll get with chop over Ryan here. But generally speaking, what do you guys think about this? Where do you guys see this book kind of landing? Does this surprise you that it's currently sitting at $8,200? And Ryan, let me kick it over to you since you could probably set us up with those previous sales.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I am surprised that it's up as high as it is. So the two other sales that have been on, that's been the unfortunate thing, is that the two other known sales, at least that I'm aware of, for a 9.9, because there is no CGC 10. So the two other sales for a 9.9 CGC happened on Comic Link, which then doesn't get pulled into GPA and all that stuff. But it was for $10,000 and for $21,000. The 10,000 was more recent. The 21 was like peak comic boom. And so based on those, I was picturing this book probably going for 4,000 to 5,000, just because we still don't have that census. Like, you don't know what could be coming out there with this book in terms of tens. And so the fact that it's already getting up really close to that last CGC 9.9 sale definitely surprises me. I mean, I was not expecting that amount of bidding on this book.
What about you, Manu? What were you kind of thinking about this one as far as like what it was going to hit? And you can maybe translate it over to, what we see with the multiples of like 9.8 to 9.9 or 9.8 to 10 in previous other books that have sold when they're kind of in this age range.
Yeah, I mean, I was just really sort of curious to see what it was going to do. I didn't know how everyone was going to react to it. And a couple of days ago, when it was already at $6,200, I was already quite satisfied with the multiple. But then if you compare it to some of the, the history of CGC multiples, when you are factoring in a 9.8 to a 9.9, because that's kind of how we're looking at the value, right? A 9.9 essentially. For lack of a more detailed comparison, that's sort of how we're looking at it. Sometimes they do a 20x, sometimes they do a 15x, so on and so forth. But when we're talking about this book being like a $450 9.8, roughly like that, 6,200, I was already so happy. It already showed, a lot of confidence in the PSA 10. And then it just continued to climb. And I think right now, where is it again? It's at $8,200 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, $8,200. 1 day, 3 hours left.
If it doesn't move at all, I already think this is a success. But then obviously there's a chance that it's going to move some more in the final hours and tomorrow, so on and so forth. And then, so personally, I'm very excited about it. I'm very happy to see it. I think that's a fantastic multiple. I think it shows a lot of confidence and strength. And then, selfishly, I have my own reasons to be sort of interested in it, owning some tens myself. I'm curious to know what that multiple is and what sort of math can I do when pricing or projecting what I might sell or ask for mine. And so I love it. I think this is just amazing to see. I'm very pleased already, but I'm excited to see if it does even crazier numbers tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, 23,861 universal copies on the census, 4,241 of which are 9/8s and only 16 9/9s. But Rob, do you think that this is a ridiculous amount of money to be paying for this book? What do you think about like the PSA 10 strategy? I know we've talked about the PSA 10, 10 bigger than 9.9 concept here, but do you think that this is manifesting in real time?
I wonder how many people don't realize that PSA 10s are probably going to be a little bit more common than a CGC 99/10, and that this ends up biting them in the butt at some point in time. But yeah, I think you're seeing the power of the lizard brain on this one, as you like to say, Swags, that the bigger number equals more dollars, and it's playing out in real time. And I wonder if someone in a CGC office is sitting there going like, why did we keep 9/9s and 10s for so long?
You know what's interesting about that? We're going to definitely talk about it later on in the show. There's a heritage sale that we're going to get into that has like 16 9/9s going up for sale, but they're not necessarily like new slab 9/9s. A lot of them are like older case 9/9s. But I wonder if the thought process there is the people that have these books are like, dude, we got to start unloading this stuff before the market continues to get flooded with 9/9s, or PSA, is giving out 10/0s like candy. And I do think it's cool to sort of see that this book is getting this number. Obviously, there's an element here that this is, collector's comics. So this is Dave Comic Book Investments website. So maybe there's a little bit of an aspect where there's more eyeballs on this because, he's got a YouTube channel. So they're able to kind of generate awareness a little bit more. And so people are interested in this, or they want to have it because they know it's kind of like the first 10/0 coming out and there's excitement there. But
it's also their
I
signature book for that auction. Like it's up on their page. Like it's got a special listing and everything. Yeah, I mean it's like the crown jewel. You see?
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that there's an element there that is hype driven in this. But yeah, we talked about it on sort of last time show where we're sort of felt like maybe people are going to evaluate the PSA 10s in accordance to that of CGC 9/9s, because since there is no PSA 9/9, then the bucket for what books seemingly, if we're going to assume that the grading is the same, the bucket of what books go in the PSA 10 are 9/9s and 10s in theory. So It does sort of feel like the CGC 10 will be that Beckett Black Label situation. And maybe if this is proof that the 10s can sell at the CGC 9/9 levels, that'll kind of be what we see, moving forward. But to your point, Rob, like if PSA keeps giving out these 10/0s and they just are flooding the market with it, I think CGC is going to be like, well, shoot, we better start giving out more 9/9s, and then you have.
I don't even know that giving out's the correct term to use, though. I just feel like, was CGC actually grading them correctly by their own standards? I mean, they've kind of admitted that they
that's
weren't.
That's a fair correction. Yeah, because it could be that it's like, these things are 10s based on your standards. You guys just were never actually calling them that.
Yeah, and in hindsight, they would probably say, I can imagine in this hypothetical tinfoil hat conversation that they potentially could have had was something along the lines of, well, if we start giving out more 9/9s and 10s now, it's going to undercut the 9/8s, and then that's going to cause us a problem. And, do we want to tank the whole market? And you can kind of start going down the rabbit hole there. But if 3 years from now, we're looking at a CGC pop report and, you start doing the numbers on like how many 10s are out there of like these books that there's 20,000 of on the census, does that start to affect the CGC 9/8 price to some degree? Like there's a lot of little rabbit holes you can go down.
Yeah.
When's that population report coming, Neo? You seem to have some insight on that.
The last I heard was soon, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Soon. Very, very specific.
Yeah, because I mean that is to me that is one of the most important things. Like, but ultimately, I think long term we'll find out if a PSA 10 sells for. I don't think it'll ever sell at a CGC 10, but will it sell for between a 9/8 and a 9/9, or will it sell between a 9/9 and a 10? Like, where is it going to settle out? And we need more books to sell.
Right.
I only know of a couple examples so far, and I'm not talking about the super modern stuff. Like that stuff I don't really care about in terms of like there's even on the CGC side, there's tons of 10s and tons of 9/9s of those like brand new like metal books and cardstock books and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about the vintage books.
I mean, how many 1 year from now, how many Ultimate Fallout 4 10s do we see on the PSA census? You know, that's
Man,
one that's
I
one that's been
thought we'd see
criticized.
more 99s on the CGC side after that one, and we haven't seen. I check every once in a while, and there haven't been any new ones added. So I thought that was.
I know
like
you were following that
floodgates.
very closely. Yeah, I know you followed that very closely for a while. Does it feel like that they've loosened up on 99s and 10s, or is it still pretty tight?
I mean, so the problem is the site that I was using, that CGC data site, hasn't been updating, so you can't even check it anymore. I don't know if the person who ran the site just stopped pulling in the data, or if CGC was like, we don't want you to do this anymore because people are out there like talking about our, our census changes and, that kind of stuff, or what. But like, it was like a bunch of data from 2024 disappeared off that site. And then now, like, you only have a few days or a few polls from 2025, and there hasn't been anything for like 6 or 8 weeks. And I was needing the every week poll to be able to do that analysis, and you just can't do it now. So, I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate that isn't being done anymore. And I noticed it with like Comic Tom too, because he used to say like X number of copies were added, and that I'm sure they were using that site to do that, and you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. I don't think the grading company would have stepped in unless he had API access.
I think it's an API. It was some type of special poll that he was granted access to do this. And
you don't need that to do it though, because GemRate does it for sports cards and he doesn't have API access.
Okay.
Tom, what up?
Because I'm in the chat right now. Shout out to Tom. Maybe he can clarify. He says nah.
It's public data on the pop report. They do have API access available, at least CGC does. But I talk to Ryan that runs GemRate all the time, and he does not have. He actually won't take API access for that specific reason, so they can't.
Oh, okay.
So.
Guys, we can't ignore super chats. I mean, even if they're about me and you guys hate that,
Wait
we
a
can't
minute.
just ignore super chats.
Listen, so Manu trying to take out my hosting. It's like I'm the MC over here. Okay, I say when it makes sense to logically move over to a super chat here. But now it makes sense to move over to Super Chat because Manu interrupted. Shout out to the real McCoy collector. The 499 says, "How's it going, everyone? Manu is looking like the guy from Oliver and Company. Love you, bro. Lol."
Love you too, my man. Thank you.
Who is the guy from Oliver and Company? This is a reference that I don't understand.
I don't know. I have no idea.
We need more details, apparently. We're just gonna be looking it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm assuming it's a guy wearing a beanie. With a little hooded jacket and things like that.
Yeah, some little herringbone pattern on sort of an old school sort of coat, maybe something like
that.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it sounds right. The name Oliver makes sense. Can't tell if people are trolling me by telling me I'm still quiet. Maybe I am. I'll sort it out later. But yeah, sorry.
You sound great to me.
That's what matters, and that's what counts.
Well, speaking of the X-Men 266, it is a PSA 10. But I don't want to kind of not talk about the fact that here at the Collectors Comics, their auction that is going to be going, I think, finalizing in a day, like we said. This is the quote unquote biggest PSA auction event we have seen, I think, since PSA has been around. Obviously, there's a lot of keys that are going up for sale, but I think that this is going to give us a lot of indication of some of the values as they relate to CGC. Now, Shortbox did have a PSA sale as well, but those ones are not going to necessarily make it into GPA. Frankly, I don't think these ones are going to either. But I did kind of notice, as far as like just eyeballing some of the short box sales, like they were close to CGC value, but maybe within 5 to 10% under. And I don't know if that's because that's short box, like who maybe doesn't have the same kind of eyeballs that a Heritage would. But I thought that was either.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed the language they used. Yeah, the language they used was like within the fair market value range, not, which that can be kind of broad. So I wasn't sure how to take that because it's not sales that you can really easily go back and check.
I actually asked them if they report the sales, and the answer was, we do. We are linked with GPA, and we are working on Go Collect currently. So apparently the sales from this auction are going to get recorded.
Not if they're PSA, though.
Yeah,
GPA won't
GPA
report.
track PSA sales?
No.
Oh, okay. That was the specific. Okay, I gotcha. We need to get them on board then.
going over the Golden Age one, I think this is kind of a cool Superman #3 right here in a PSA 3.5.
Yeah, there were a
Coming-
few surprising books in that, because I went through and kind of like marked a few to save to make sure I could go back to them, and there are a few like bigger books that are in this auction for sure.
Coming from the sports card side of things, the fact that PSA was even, would you say like 20% is a fair number? Like they were within at least 20% of CGC prices?
I think seemingly they were. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just assume that for the sake of conversation. That's actually pretty good, I think, out of the gates. Because in cards, like a PSA 10, the same card in a CGC 10 will sell for 60%, like 40% discount easily.
Right.
So,
I think probably the big difference there is that with a PSA 10 versus a something else 10, the risk of you not crossing over that 10 is pretty high. But when you're talking about comics where you're looking at like a 5 versus a 5.5 or something like that, the risk is very low in terms of value. So if you're watching a book, you can, and you've got front and back pictures and you see what the grade is that they give it, you can do a pretty good assessment yourself on that book if you want. And so I don't think the book is going to ever go below maybe like 20% less, hardly, for like the mid-grade type stuff, just because the ability for somebody to buy it, crack it out, resubmit, and make profit on it is too easy. It's the same reason like the CBCS books tend to be capped at kind of like 10 to 20% below CGC, because once they get much below that, it's just like it's printing money just buying them. And so that's why I think it's a little trickier on the card side, because that getting that 10 is just, I mean, it makes or breaks. It's such a huge value difference on the cards.
Yeah. Still though, that still seems pretty good right out of the gate for them to be within a 20% margin potentially. And to your point about the Kraken like resubmit thing, if someone wants to play that angle, from everything I've seen of the books that I've looked at, PSA has extremely detailed graders notes compared to CGC. So you probably actually have a better idea of what that book actually looks like from I think I could bump this or something.
Oh, we
might have to get into that later on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say we might have to get into that later on when we talk about the More Fun 73, which I thought was interesting because that was like the first book seemingly that we got to see 3 different grader notes on the same exact copy within like the last couple years, and it's kind of interesting to see what each company identified and how detailed they were about those defects.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw, it looked like they had possibly the best graders notes. And now I know a lot of people have been just wondering, like, does that carry through as they build up in terms of volume? Like, do they start going like, we don't have time to write all this stuff out? But I mean, yeah, their graders notes looked really good. That's what I've seen from the beginning with PSA.
Yeah. Well, Uncanny X-Men 266 10.0, $8,200, 28 bids, 54 watchers. We'll see if it gets another couple bids in. I mean, there's still a day and 2 hours left. I'm not sure how Collectors Comics auction works, if it's one of those like everyone has to kind of jam the bid at the last moment, or if it's like I think it has a firm stop, but I don't remember for sure. So it's possible that we see this maybe get a few more bids in, before it ends up closing, and we'll see if it ends up being a 5-figure book. But until then, we'll have to report back and go from one grading company of PSA to another grading company, CGC. We had a few different things I thought were interesting to talk about with CGC. I mean, Manu has a interesting little story that he's going to tell us about a book that he saw. But before we get to that, I did want to just use this slide of the CGC Todd McFarlane signing to talk about a video I made the other day, yesterday actually, that was about how Sean Caffrey announced that they're going to be doing CGC signed books, and on their pop report or their census, you're going to have the ability to sort said signed book by creator. So if there's a issue of ASM 300 and you're wondering, well, how many of the ASM 300s are signed by Todd McFarlane and how many of them are signed by, say, Stan Lee, you're now going to be able to break that out. And to me, like, it felt like, cool, that's a great feature. I would use it from a collector standpoint, but also it was kind of a clear indication to me that I just think that they see signed books as like the next frontier, like the next place for them to really, grow and to generate revenue. So they probably see it as like, hey, it's really on us to build out the tools and the infrastructure to have these resources of people that are going to be utilizing these sign book features. Case in point, they're about to generate tens of millions of dollars with the Todd McFarlane sign that everyone is losing their minds on. But I don't know, just kind of throw it out to all three of you guys, just in general, as far as like if you want to weigh in on CGC's new sign feature that they kind of leaked out. I think it's going to come out next week officially, and then also maybe the Todd McFarlane signing. If you have any interesting thoughts about this one.
Yeah, I mean,
do they do this if PSA doesn't exist?
I mean, maybe not.
I mean,
it could be something where it's actually pushing them to make changes. Which, I mean, there are other changes I would have liked to have seen first, but take what you can get, I guess.
Yeah,
I think that's absolutely what's happening. I think PSA is not necessarily forcing, but incentivizing sort of like a reimagining of the offerings and seeing where they can improve and where they could retain more of their existing customers or impress them or have reason to be picked over the other. I mean, obviously everyone's going to say, the value proposition of CGC might still be stronger, and so that might be a good enough reason for most people. But I think CGC knows that isn't necessarily something that it's not guaranteed. It's not promised to last. So they have to develop an offering that can't be argued as better. So they're going to keep changing things until they get there. I agree with Swag. I think this was a really dope change, like being able to identify which books are signed by who or how many are signed by who. I've been in plenty of conversations where someone has a book that might have 2 or 3 signatures and they might frame it as a 1 of 1. And I would tell them, well, you don't know that it's a 1 of 1. If there's 37 yellow labels, you actually have no idea who signed them unless you have the cert number. That's the only way to know who signed them. You look at the cert number. But if you're not privy to the cert number, you're just looking at the number on the census or the POP report, you actually have no idea. And I went through something with a personal book of mine. I wanted to confirm if I had the only one signed by Stan Lee, and CGC did some favors for me. Everything short of giving me the cert numbers, which I said, I don't need the cert numbers. I just need to know, do I have the only one? They confirmed it, but this would allow me to do that without having to, have the conversations or sort of hope someone is willing to do some work for me where they don't have to. I think this is fantastic. I look forward to other changes that they're going to make too.
to mention too, we had a little bit of a conversation about the auto grading, where it was like JSA's new feature where they can actually grade I guess it's the legibility of the signature is really what they're evaluating. And now they're taking that number and putting it on the front of their label, and all autographs are going to have it. And this was, whether it's coincidence or it's, them looking over their shoulder at PSA. PSA also had announced that, of course, they're now doing signed comic books, and they have their version of auto grading and things like that. And I don't know, because we're here to talk about this, like, what do you guys think about the auto grading? And I'll just come right out with it. I think it's kind of silly as far as like the legibility of it, because you can see it. It's just clearly like you can make your own judgment about it. I could maybe see a case if they wanted to also, evaluate the placement of the signature. But to me, it's just grading the legibility of it, less so the aesthetic placement of it, which to me is like almost more important than the legibility. But I don't know. I don't know any collectors that really feel like the auto grading is this like great feature. And it just seems like they added it because they just had to for competition purposes.
I think it's much more of a card thing than a comic thing. I mean, I'm sure that it may have some value in the comic side, but I mean, I don't see it as being a primary driver on the comic side. And I think a big part of it too, again, just comes down to availability. Like maybe it on certain books, it makes a difference. Like Todd McFarlane signed, someone mentioned Spawn 1. Todd McFarlane signed Spawn 1, where he's signed 2,000 copies, or probably more than that, of that book. And so you've got some that have just the T, and some that get the full Todd and all that kind of stuff. And so maybe in those cases it matters. But when you're talking about books that, I mean, who knows, like, I don't know, an Amazing Spider-Man 1 or something, and there's only maybe 1 or 2 that are signed by Stan Lee anyway, I doubt it's really going to have much of an impact. The person's just going to buy what they buy because that's what's available at that time.
Even in cards, it's kind of like side-eyed to a degree. I mean, you'll get a premium price if you have a 10-10 like a 10 grade with a 10 auto. And even if it's an older card, if it has a 10 auto on it, you could get a little bit of a bump. But it's kind of what you guys were saying earlier. most of us can grade a signature. I mean, you can't authenticate it, obviously, but like any of us can look at a signature and be like, oh, that has a huge streak in it. That looks less good than this other one does. And 9 times out of 10, what you find is a lot of people get screwed by it because you think your signature is clean and you send it in and it catches a 9 on the signature grade. And then it's like a scarlet letter because then everyone's like, I don't want a 9 signature grade. So most people, if you asked me on the card side of the world what to do, I would say submit and don't grade the auto, just get it authenticated. I would almost always say that, even on the cleanest of autos, because every once in a while you'll get something come back from back.
So I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't sure that. I didn't know if you were forced to have the auto graded or not.
No, you have to actually pay extra for it.
Okay, tinfoil hat time. Tinfoil hat. Are you ready for this? Like you said, it's a scarlet letter. So if you all of a sudden have a book that's an auto 9 on it, like, and the fact that now you're putting it on the front of the label, which before it was on the back and now it's on the front, it's kind of like it stares you in the face like off-white pages would. Like, do you and so we all know that, you know, lizard brain takes over, everybody wants the 10. I wonder if legibility was something that CGC thought to themselves, listen, like, we're having all these in-house signings. This is our bread and butter. And the benefit of the in-house signing is that it's controlled environment. You know, Todd McFarlane gets to be in his house. He sits in his comfy chair. He gets to really work those, those perfect signatures without some guy standing over him being like, "Oh, I really loved how you did Spawn number 2." You know what I mean? Like, he has to listen to this story. You know, and so the appeal here is that they get to have, you know, people wanting to go to their signed signature events to get that legible signature and get that 10-0. I don't know. If I was a nefarious, money hungry grading company that wanted to maximize results, that might be a good idea. You know, that might be one of my best ideas.
I don't know if you could guarantee they're going to do any of like better of a job at a CGC signing event. They're going to do somewhere like where they've got like a stack of books like next to them, and they're like, oh my God, like their arm is just exhausted, like doing this throughout the course of the night.
See the video? What was the video you shared, Ryan? It
was that guy signing like 1,000 books in an hour, and he's just like throwing them as he's like signing them. And I was like, oh my God, I wish that was comics. It would just be like people's heads exploding. Like just the outrage of all these books no longer being 9/8. But yeah,
I'm not sure. Maybe Neo could add to this. I'm not sure when this became a thing in the card space, but I kind of agree with what all of you guys are saying. It's like I obviously don't think it's necessary. I kind of equate it to the same thing with like centering or a miswrap. Where if we have 2 books that are 9/8 in front of us and one is has a better, cover wrap than the other, we're essentially applying our own sort of opinion grade to it, right? We'll buy one over the other, or we might pay a premium for one over the other, regardless if that has its own grade or if that's factored into the grade. We're using our eyeballs to decide what the grade of that is to us, and then we spend accordingly. But Tom here says something. Comic Tom says grading SIGs is optional but super important sometimes. He says, which is huge. Have you seen the Stan Lee SIGs? Right? Oh yeah, this video. And so
it's footage from the Todd McFarlane event right here from the picture. All right, so sorry, Badu, you were bringing up a good point. What Comic Tom was saying.
Yeah, he said grading SIGs is optional but super important sometimes, which is huge. Have you ever seen the Stan Lee SIGs? And of course, I've seen the Stan Lee SIGs, because one of the things, a couple of months ago was that 10-book submission with the wildest, most destroyed-looking Stan Lee signatures ever. And those people, whoever submitted those books, actually opted to have them graded, and they all got like a grade of a 3. But it was the question in my mind is, why is that necessary to do? We can look at it and see that it's a very, very bad signature, right? But now, I guess, in this environment where we want to put a monetary value on anything, right? If there's now pricing data based on the grade of a signature as well, because you could look at a signature and say, I don't like it. But it's like, well, how much between 1 and 10 don't you like it? Because if you don't like it 7,
Buy
it's
the
this
sig,
much,
not the grade. That's
you
the new
know?
Buy the
saying.
sig, not the grade.
And so, and
Yeah.
this goes into the whole thing about this. All of this is nonsense. All of this is a game, and we'll get into that more. But it truly is all just a game, you know.
Well, we can kind of have that be a perfect segue into the Upper Deck president talking about how we're in a collectible bubble, and this being kind of the title of our show. But I want to get Rob, before we really jump into that fully, like, to pick off what Manu was saying there, or do you think there's anything to my little tinfoil hat idea of, like, they're doing the signed events, they want to get the legible signatures, it just sort of makes sense.
I think that's a little too tinfoil for me.
Oh, come on. Get on the tinfoil hat train. This is the ungraded truth, okay?
I have it. I have a tinfoil hat somewhere around here. It's up there, actually. It's right up. I don't think you can see. It's too dark. That little
Fair enough.
right there, that little bit of silver right there is an actual tinfoil hat.
I like it when you put on the tinfoil hat. Okay, well, if this one's not tinfoily enough, it does seem like, whether it's nefarious or not, it is about money, the way that Manu was kind of talking about it. But I guess we can kind of now jump into this topic officially. And maybe, Rob, I'll start with you on this one. The Upper Deck president made a post the other week about how he feels that everything is a speculative bubble, that the little collector has been priced out. Hobby boxes are too expensive. Concert tickets are too expensive. I'm not saying the sky is falling, but I'm saying the sky is falling. It's not aliens, but it's aliens. That's basically what his statement was. What did you kind of think about what he came out and said about, as far as, like, how he feels about where the current state of the hobby is in cards and trading cards and collectibles? Why do you think he made the statement? And what, maybe more importantly, has sort of been the conversation, at least in the card side of it?
The part that I found the most amusing about this is when he talks about $1,000 hobby boxes and the prices that they go up, because Upper Deck has the most draconian distribution policies ever that artificially inflate their box prices. So I found it amusing that he's going to call out others for the thing that his own company does. Like, they legitimately restrict online sales to like 2 or 3 sellers in the entire nation for pre-sales. So it allows them to dictate the entire market in regards to pricing, because no one else is allowed to sell early. So David Adams and Steel City basically control the market on Upper Deck product and set the price, and no one else can come in and undercut them. It's hilarious to me that Upper Deck was the one that came out and was like, oh, expensive box prices. Like, yeah, no kidding. You guys have your hand in that too. I found that part the most enjoyable out of this entire escapade, if you will.
It just makes really no sense. If he was so worried about collectors being priced out of it, I mean, okay, you're the president, just print more.
Yeah.
Like, if it's sold out, just print more.
Yeah. They did this stuff with Marvel stuff all the time. I mean, part of this is kind of like, do they just feel sad because they're off in the corner and no one really talks about them that much?
That's what I think it is. That's what it comes across as to me. They've
lost the Marvel license. They have hockey, which is good, but most people in the US don't really care. They got
knocking
DC
on our
license.
Canadian fans right here. Like,
yeah, they just got the DC license. They really haven't done a ton with that yet, though. Batman Metal's coming out soon, so we'll have Batman PMGs that everyone will be losing their mind over. But I don't know. This, I mean, he says some stuff in there that's not necessarily wrong. It's just a
lot of
weird.
Stuff that's not wrong.
It's just weird coming from someone that has some control over this to a degree. I don't know.
That's the weird part. The weird part is the why. And that's also the fun part to think about. Like, we have done, amongst ourselves, like, why is he saying this? Like, what is it? Is it because he's a little pissed off that Fanatics has the limelight, that Fanatics is doing so well, that Michael Rubin is doing so well? Is this his way of thinking of trying to position himself as someone that is for the hobby, for the collecting community? I care about your well-being. Don't blow your life savings on cards. Like, is it that sort of manipulation in a public forum? Or is he having a moment where he's really thinking? That was the whole thing to me. It's like, why would you come out and say this? None of this is this isn't. I mean, it's profound in some regards, but it's pretty basic stuff. Like a lot of this is true. A lot of this is real concern. Yes, the entire market is propped up on speculation, but it kind of has always been like everything is about speculating. You know, quite frankly, there are collectors that buy to collect, but the market is sort of
Lies.
energized. Yeah, well,
There are no collectors. There's no collectors anymore.
the market is sort of fueled by the people that are speculating on what a collector might collect, right? It's still speculative. You know, someone is selling to the collector. It's not always the collector that's out hunting as much as the flipper is hunting, right? Or someone that is looking at it as a profitable mechanism. So what was interesting?
That's what I was.
Comment broke me.
I was thinking the same thing.
Well played, eggplant comment.
Oh, man.
Comments
Oh,
well played.
I tell you, I
Come
gotta
on,
get
come
this
on.
under
How you gonna
control.
do them like that? How you gonna? I knew it's the John Cena of audio, bro.
I want to let our friends in the chat know that this has been sabotaged by the three gentlemen on the screen, because they tell me time and time again, your audio's good, your audio's good. Then I come
No,
on,
not the
Yeah.
three.
and
No.
no one can hear me. Yeah, Neil's the
speaks
only
the
one that
truth to
keeps
you?
it real. I don't know what's happening
You
here. So I
sound
want-
fine.
Oh,
Sounds totally
clearly,
fine. It's totally
clearly.
fine. Like I don't know
Oh
what
my
everyone
God.
in the chat's hearing
No,
is
no,
right now,
everyone
but
in the
I'm
chat
good.
can't be
Definitely
wrong.
not
No, no,
fine.
chat, you guys can't be wrong. Well, now our friend RMS says the audio is fine. I am yelling into the mic at the moment though, so that might be
Hey,
why it's fine.
RMS is a real one right there. You know,
You're like
he's got your back, Manu.
like Swag's Automatic and me have PSA 10 audio, and you're coming in with like CGC 9.2 audio.
Grade these decibels, Neo. Hey, listen, here, check this out. Check this out. I was trying to be good. I was trying not to interrupt. I was trying not to do my own thing in the chat. But I'm talking, Swag pulls up a video, some guy throwing books around. I'm talking, I start seeing Neo doing this. All bets are off. I'm in the chat. I am going to have my conversations, and I'm going to yell into this mic. Love everybody. And we're giving away books soon. We're giving away books soon.
We are going to give away books, and you know, Manu might pick the winner. So you know, if you're somebody who's making fun of his audio, it might hurt.
RMS
you.
is already.
If you're being constructive, I actually appreciate it. You know, this is something I wanted to say about people in the chat. Like, I mean, in the comment section, some people are kind of mean, some people are very helpful. But at the end of the day, I'm still reading them. You're still speaking to me. If you want me to improve my mic quality, I take that as like you saying, I enjoy the content, but I want to be able to bear listening to it. So I take it as constructive criticism. Keep it coming. I read it all. I take it all in. I want to make improvements, and I appreciate you guys being here. I love it all.
Man.
This never dies, though, you know, because one day you are going to turn up the gain, as Mighty says. But
Yes, turn up the
even
gain.
when
That's the
it gets,
tagline.
even once it gets
Just
balanced,
keep saying it's low.
It's still
Eventually,
going to be
his voice is just like booming.
Yeah.
No idea.
I bet you it's something on Swag's end where it's like he just has to go into his interface for StreamYard, and my channel he just for some reason has turned down. That's what we're all going to find out eventually.
I've definitely been turning yours down because your audio is in a speculative bubble, just like the president of Upper Deck says. But you know what's funny about this is like reading his statement. I made a video about it, and I just did my commentary, and I'm just like, I just don't really understand what he's saying. I mean, to me, I felt like, again, the statement is some sort of PR sour grapes, like, you know, trying to maybe gain some attention or like make, you know, Upper Deck look better because of all the other companies that are going bananas right now. But ultimately, it's just a wild comment that it's like speculation is driving this and that's bad. But if we're being really honest, you know what would be worse than a speculative bubble in collectibles? If there was no speculation. Like, because I think at this point, like having zero speculation in any collectible would actually be the death knell rather than the speculation itself. Because at the end of the day, you have to generate some excitement. You have to generate some hype for people to want to buy anything or to, you know, pay attention to anything or to tune into anything. And not to say that that's good or bad or whatever, it just is. And so I just don't really understand this like concept of like, oh yeah, like people just, you know, will naturally collect and no hype is ever needed and you don't need a hot product at all. It's just kind of silly.
It always makes me think of that that Simpsons clip where the people like break into the mall and then Moe's getting like trampled by, you know, someone, and he's like, oh, why would you wear cleats? You know, it's like, it's that kind of thing. It's like you want to have that excitement out there for your product. You don't want like nobody to care. Like then you end up with Pogs or Beanie Babies or whatever, and the stuff just dies, you know, and it goes away.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, shout out to RMS, sponsor of the channel here for the $9.99, saying Manu is the only only one getting corporate funding, even with poor audio.
Love you,
One day
RMS.
one day we're gonna have that sweet, sweet, sweet corporate sponsorship money, and with it, we are going to buy Manu the greatest audio system in the
He
world.
bought a new mic.
I bought
He
a new
bought a
mic.
new
I bought new cables. Guys, you guys aren't gonna believe it. I thought the mic was only gonna be compatible with the new phone, so I went and bought the 17. Guess what? I'm obviously not
You are
using the
never
17
making this. You're
'cause
never
it's
going to
here.
financially recover from this.
I've got 14s and 17s that I don't need now for no reason, and I can't figure this damn thing out, but I will figure it out. But before we leave this subject, I want to say something else about this. Like, the sky is falling, the market is going to collapse, collecting is going to go away. It's not necessarily, the speculative bubble bursting is not necessarily about like collectibles disappearing entirely. We've seen boom and bust seasons before. The 90s in collecting, we experienced that. The pandemic in a really tight time frame was that as well, right? The interesting notion here is when things get really heated up with excitement, when people that aren't applying any logic at all think you can't fail, and they're buying things and they're starting, whatnot channels because there's liquidity in the market, so on and so forth. They're kind of like their spirits are up. They're not thinking about it too carefully because everything seems to be working. But those people that aren't maybe seasoned in cycles, they haven't been around when something has crashed before, they don't know how to withstand the troubling times. When they get smacked around, just like the president of Upper Deck says, they get a bad taste in their mouth and they sometimes disappear. Now, a lot of those people are providing a lot of the liquidity, so they are buyers. If buyers get smacked around when volumes start collapsing, they don't know how to hold, right? It's a paper loss until you sell. You have to realize the loss by selling, but this isn't that sort of a commodity. If you buy a bunch of crap, it might not ever rebound. If you buy quality stuff, it might rebound over time. So people that think you can't lose because the market is so hot, buy a whole bunch of crap. Once the crap starts going down a little bit in value, it cascades. Everyone starts to panic sell. Once they panic sell, even the savvy business people that were, taking advantage of the fact that stupid money has come to play. Once the stupid money is gone for that time in the cycle, even the savvy business people have no one to sell to, so they have to drop prices. That's when a bubble appears to burst. It's not like everything burns. It's not like everything is gone. It's just less exciting. It goes to sleep for a while. People start to do their regular life again because they've lost a bunch of money, and then we have to wait for another bubble to reemerge. Bubbles are great. It's a cycle, though, and this could be a point in the cycle where maybe things are being challenged because everything is kind of hotter than reasonably, hotter than would be in a reasonable market, right? Like nobody in Pokemon talks about a Pokemon that's not worth money. Every Pokemon is worth money. Every Pokemon is worth having, right? Is that sustainable? I don't know, man. I have no idea. But I think the concerns are legitimate. But if you're smart, you're going to be fine. And if you buy good stuff and you don't have to sell, well, then you don't have to realize your loss and you could just wait it out.
Add some stuff to that because I just think it's funny because yeah, everything is a bubble. Everything's a bubble, guys. Sure, cool. Like one day the sun is going to explode. Like yes, one day nobody's going to want all of these collectibles and all this stuff. But the real question is like, how long are we talking about here? And for him, it's a weird thing to make a comment about it because he's in the trading card world. Like if he wanted to make a comment about like Labubu's are in a bubble, like that seemed to be a very clear thing because it's like, this is a new product coming out of nowhere that everybody is going crazy for. But trading cards seemingly have been around for, X number of years now that people have been into them since like, the 60s and stuff. And seemingly, is it going to be around for the next 5 to 10 years? Yeah, of course. Why would it not? And so maybe 11 years from now, it's all a bubble and it all comes crashing down. But like until then, who cares?
Yeah, I don't buy like a CEO having a, like his conscience coming in and thinking that he's got to like speak out for the collectors. I don't see that. Like it's got to be some angle, or it's just like the fact, like you said, that he's just mad that these other companies are doing better than his, and he just kind of maybe wants the limelight or something. It just doesn't. Yeah. I don't know. It didn't sit right with me the instant I saw it, and it'd be hard to convince me that there was any like altruistic, like actual feeling behind it.
Let's have him on
Yeah.
the channel. Let's ask him his why.
I'm sure he'd give us a straight answer. Right?
He did an interview with Darren Ravel over at Collect. I haven't had a chance to pick apart the whole thing yet. So if you want more context, I think that went up yesterday or the day before.
That's what we've been
Yeah.
seeing clips from, right?
Yes. Yeah, they've been getting shared on IG.
Yeah.
Well,
But
it'd be
yeah,
interesting to
everything's a
hear.
bubble.
Everything's a bubble,
Except for
including
comic.
other companies.
Well,
like
comics
the
have already,
Panini
that
Group.
bubble already popped, so we're fine. Comics are fine.
Yeah,
So the card
We're
bubble
already-
popped and we're back again.
Comics
Well,
are.
we were talking about that though, because I saw a comment in the
Comics
chat
need
where
a
it was
bubble.
something about where was it? It was comics were in a bubble during COVID, while Pokemon launched during COVID and just kept getting higher. And we talked about that some in like our I think that was in our private chat. I don't think that was in the video 2 weeks ago, where it depends which market you're talking about in cards, because like with comics, if you go over to like Go Collect and you look at their little like price charting thing, you see like modern comics actually going up, and it's the silver, bronze, copper going down, and golden age are continuing their kind of like gradual trend up. In cards, like, because I have a number of like vintage Pokemon cards, the ones that I bought from like 99, like the real early stuff, like, and I bought that during the kind of the COVID boom, those are still down and down by a decent amount. Whereas the stuff that I bought that's from within the last about 7 years, where I bought like PSA 10s of either like trainers and things like that, like those have actually regained their value and gone up. And so there are certain like segments of the card market that are actually still down from those COVID prices that they hit.
There's an interesting development, and I still can't quite put my finger on it as far as like vintage compared to modern. Like for all these years, you would think that like vintage would be like safer and the better thing to buy because that's going to be the original stuff. But there's something about in sight, in mind, out of sight, out of mind, kind of degeneracy, like new product, flashy, shiny, foil, whatever, that is always going to attract that type of collector to want to buy in on that stuff or chase the FOMO or chase the hype.
You can't really
versus, like,
gamble
people-
on vintage unless it's like Courtyard
you
IO
can't,
or something, like you're gambling on the modern stuff like blind bags and like, can you get that CGC 9.8 or PSA 10 or whatever when you grade it?
Yeah. So there's a weird irony in it. I'm not going to call it safer, but I'm going to call it at least having more of an ability to cash in on a sale for an item that you may have. So it's something interesting there.
Only
But-
someone did like a comic book index video once a month to update everyone on the state.
I know. Why doesn't this?
That would be
I swear, like there
boring.
used to be a video like that.
Yeah, I feel like someone used to do one of those regularly. I remember always looking forward to them, and I would always click on it as soon as it popped up. But then I don't know, that creator must have just faded away.
Yeah, nobody cared about it anymore. Actually, that's not true. I'm going to do that video maybe next week. I'll give it a go.
It's the end of October. It's it's a fresh month.
That's what you got to tell the people in the chat. They got to watch them and click on them, because like when you get that video that ends up in your 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, you're just like, I don't know if I want to make this again, especially if it's a lot of work. And I know you got to put in a lot of work to make that video.
It is a lot of work. Vexer has a good point. Swag, I do have to update the books in that index. Maybe I'll do that as a 2026 project. But it is really funny and kind of validating that, like, when I started that index, I think a lot of people used to be like, oh, what is this? Like, they get mad. I get the comments that's like, Swag, you're treating comics like stocks and stuff. And then eventually people started to understand what I was trying to accomplish with it, which was just to say, like, hey, guys, this is just information. But that is a good sense of where we're at if you're curious. But yeah, I'll pick it back up. But we're going to table that. We're going to jump into this news story here. And I'm going to look over at Rob with this one. This is from your Instagram, a post that says Panini Group exploring sale, Topps named as potential buyer. I think I heard that this was not maybe going to happen, or maybe like someone at Topps made a statement that it doesn't really make sense. Talk to me about this in terms of, is this like a WWF buying WCW situation here? Like what's going on with Panini Group?
So this came out, and then the next day, Fanatics was like, nah, bro, when asked on the record, which that's what they would say, whether they were actually willing to do it or not. Like they're not going to come out and be like, oh, well, actually, since you asked, yes, we are looking at buying them. Like, of course, they're going to say, no, they're not interested. And maybe they're legitimately not. I don't know that I would compare it to WWE buying WCW. Panini had a little bit of leverage a couple of years ago. They don't really now. They have some stuff that's juicy, mostly overseas and mostly like soccer and sticker stuff. They had some leverage over Fanatics a couple of years ago when this deal almost happened because they still had like 2 years left on the license for NFL and NBA. And part of the deal would have been for Fanatics is they get access to the license 2 years early, and that would have been a huge revenue driver for them. The problem now is that Fanatics now has the NBA license. It's switched over. We've got to that date, and NFL switches in April. So from a US perspective, there's not actually a lot that they're buying other than the IP of the brands that Panini has. So like if they wanted to make Prism or National Treasures or Flawless or something like that, they would have access to those brands to make it. But that's all they would really get out of it from the US standpoint. So I don't
How much
know
value
that
do you think
Fanatics really needs to do that. Not saying that they
how much
wouldn't.
value
if
do you
the
think
price
those
was
brands
cheap enough.
have?
Some for sure. They have a lot of name power. Absolutely. Like if they got those sets, they would be able to print them and they would do very well. They're going to do very well anyways without them. I think that's where the math equation comes in, where if Topps and Fanatics combine for pennies on the dollar, they're probably interested. If they have to pay some ridiculous market price, they're probably not interested in it. And the other key thing to keep in mind here is that they're both companies are suing each other, and they're in a massive antitrust lawsuit against each other. So there's that weird component to all this as well. Like part of the jokes floating around this week were because Panini is suing Fanatics for being a monopoly for having all the license. And now this news comes out and it's like, no, you can't have everything. That's bad. But how many zeros do you want to put on the check? We'll sell to you too, which is like the exact opposite of the argument that they're trying to make about them being a monopoly.
So and I thought maybe you have the answer for this because I don't know enough about the sports card side of things. Like with Pokemon, they do reprints of their sets like over time, and so like having printing capacity really matters. Does that matter on the sports card side? Like, do they do reprints of sets, or is it basically like you get a big drop and that's it?
No, it's one and done. It's one and done print run. They don't go back and reprint because most of the cards have serial numbered hits in them.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, with the serialized stuff, like if they can't really.
Yeah, a set basically releases and that's it. But they'll have a set come out. They'll have like 2 basketball sets come out every month. Like they'll have Topps, and then they'll have Topps Finest, and then they'll have Topps Chrome, and they'll have Topps Sapphire, and then they'll have this, that. So like they could keep mining the license left, right, and center, but you're only getting like one print run of that release. Now, some of those print runs are huge. And Fanatics already bought one of the other things that they did a couple of years ago that kind of spurred Panini to the antitrust monopoly tactics of the lawsuit was Fanatics went in and bought the people that made Panini cards, that printed the cards for Panini. So Fanatics actually owns the factories that print Panini cards already because they bought the print group that serviced them. I think that was like a year or 2 ago. So because that was a big deal because Panini was like, our stuff's getting pushed to the side, our stuff's getting lower print quality because Topps is making it now, and they were favoring their own products allegedly. So it's been a mess for a few years now since Fanatics entered the space.
So where do you think it ends? Do you think that this Fanatics set one day is just going to write a check and they're going to gobble them up?
That's where most of this antitrust stuff ends. And I don't know if it's even that they gobble them up. They might just write them a check to go away and not even want any of the IP to go along with it. Once again, I think they would take it, but I don't think they want to pay a premium for it. So it's
got it.
Maybe what could potentially happen, and one of the things that some folks were speculating on is, do they have like Citigroup is the one that's handling the potential sale, like if they get pieced out for parts, because there's like toy companies that are interested in them. There's some other folks that aren't necessarily card related that are interested in them. So it's like there's a couple companies come in and someone's like, well, I'll take this part and I'll take this part. And the branding for like Prism and NT and like the card brands probably don't have a lot of value on their own. So maybe Topps and Fanatics is like, sure, if those are cheap enough, we'll buy them. But maybe they don't come in and gobble up the whole company. So there's a lot of different ways that this could go, basically.
Got it. Well, very, very interesting stuff as far as the sports card hobby is going on. But we got to swing it back over to comic books. And to the spirit of the thumbnail, where this is for rich collectors only, I have a little bit of a gripe, a little bit of a rant to go on. Okay. When is it that we're going to have, average Joes like me be able to afford top of census Superman ones? Okay. The
Hey,
rich
you're the
people,
jerk that outbid me.
yeah, see, that's true. That's true. But then I got outbid multiple times. These rich jerks coming in, buying up all these collectibles. As you guys can see, my secret maximum bid was 28,000 at one point, and I got outbid by just a little bit, as the book now sits at 1.525.
It's got even more
million.
bids from what I posted on Instagram, like, I don't know, 2 hours ago or something, or 3 hours ago about this, and it was at like 1.68. So it's already getting even more bids.
Unbelievable. Already sitting at $1.8 million. This is going to, even if it finished at this point in time, would make this one of the most expensive comic book sales of all time. But what's interesting about this, if you guys don't know the story, a recent Superman #1 has been unearthed. Heritage Auctions, which has their signature auction coming up later on in the year, in November, actually this month, is going to be, doing a bunch of major comic books. This one being kind of the flagship book that they have in that auction. This was apparently recently found in an attic in Northern California. Apparently, the kids were going through their moms or their grandmas' like old stuff and just happened to find this book. And they sent it into CGC. It got a CGC 9.0, which instantly put it as the highest graded version of this comic book, which of course is, the Superman #1. And now this is on Heritage, people thinking that this could be the most expensive comic book that when it's all said and done, that does get sold. Of course, the Action Comics #1, the first appearance of Superman in a CGC 8.5, sold for $6 million a couple years ago. But Ryan, why don't we start it off with you here? You made your video earlier today about this one. Superman #1, top of census, 1.8 million. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I had some I had some thoughts generally about this. I'm not convinced it's going to be the most expensive book that sells or that will have sold. Obviously, there's the Action 1, the Mile High pedigree copy that hasn't been graded. That is the most expensive comic book that's in existence, assuming it grades the 9.2 that people think it would grade if it got graded. But if for people, if they're not aware, the book that's sitting right below this book is the Mile High copy, the Edgar Church copy of Superman #1. It was an 8.0. It got regraded and got an 8.5. So it's sitting right under it. And when you're talking about Golden Age books and desirable pedigrees, those pedigrees, and the Edgar Church, the Mile High pedigree, is one of the most desirable pedigrees that's out there. That adds another typically like level or percentage to the value of the book. And so even though this one is actually graded higher, it may not actually sell for more than what that one did. It might. I mean, we do know that a lot of times, like the grade is the driver, but that Superman #1 that sold in like 2022 for 5.3 million, the Edgar Church one, it was like a private sale, kind of like, I think like handled by like Comic Connect. And I think it was Comic Connect. I didn't go and I just off of memory. But that was one of those sales that just at the time, it didn't really feel like would it actually sell for that if it actually went out on the open market. And now this one is on the open market. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it went for like 4 to 5 million, if it actually slipped below that Edgar Church Superman #1, especially now that the Edgar Church is an 8.5, that it's only a half grade below this. And so, yeah, that wouldn't really surprise me. And I mean, obviously I love seeing record sales, so I'd be happy to see it, go for more. But I've seen people in my comment section on Instagram saying like, they're thinking 6 to 8 million or 8 to 9 million. And I feel like sometimes those levels of expectations are what set people up to go like when it doesn't sell for that, they're like, oh, like everything's crashing. And it's like, I mean, you got to kind of really like when you're looking at books at this level, you got to look at this book compared to that Edgar Church book. And that Edgar Church book, it has some flaws that do hold it back, like some small amounts of staining and things, but it's a nicer looking book. The Edgar Church is. And so, when you're looking at that, it's like, does the person that wants to own this, like, this high end book, this millions of dollars like book, Do they want the one that actually presents better and is only a half grade lower and is the pedigree and I believe is white pages? Or do they want, this copy where the number says it's better? And so I think that it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if this goes below that $5.3 million sale.
Yeah. What about Manu or Rob? You got any thoughts on this one? I mean, I don't know. I looked at this and it looks a little grimy in places, little
I was gonna
shadow
ask,
up here, a
I'm
little bit of a.
I'm a little out of my depth here. Is this a legit 9.0?
Yeah, I mean so in my opinion, like, and there's a few things when you're talking about Golden Age. There's a few areas where you've got to look at that with the Golden Age. They don't grade them the same. I know that really riles people up. Now, part of that is that Golden Age books are larger, and so they have more surface area. They allow more flaws on that surface area than like a modern book. There are also certain types of things that are more accepted in the Golden Age. Like you can have 9/8 with dust shadows. There are Edgar Church 9/8 with dust shadows. They typically aren't as big as that one, but this isn't a 9/8, it's a 9.0. The thing that I would say like concerns me, like air quoting, concerns me the most about this book is that spine. And they talk about it in the grader's notes. It says the spine is frayed. And like I don't know if you can you go to the, it's there. It's also like, if you go back out and you click on the link, that'll take you to the CGC page and you can see the CGC image of this. Yeah. Right down there. And if we take a look at the CGC image, there's so if you click on that and expand it down on the bottom. So if you can zoom in on the bottom, like, look at that. Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. And I couldn't tell if that was just like an artifact from the image or what, but it's not, that stuff makes me nervous when you're talking about a book that's millions of dollars, And so I had commented in my video, like, if I was a person that was legitimately bidding on this, I would either want to fly out there and see it in person. Because if you're spending $6 million, $5 million, $8 million, whatever it is on this book, like, I'd want to see that book in person, or at minimum be like, send me videos and all kinds of close-up things on this book. Now, that is the one thing, like, people aren't aware. There's 3 printings of Superman #1. They don't post it on the label. There's all kinds of,
PSA
things
does now, apparently. PSA does.
Oh, do they? Did they put that on the front label?
They did put it on their Superman 1, actually, thanks to Manu pointing that out, referencing them to the Still Only 35 Cent video. That shout out to Still Only 35 Cent, who made a great video talking about that. Yeah, I don't know. This one, it definitely seems to get the Golden Age bump as far as its grade is concerned. I'm sure it's a beautiful copy, but how pissed would you be if you're the person that bought the 8.5, the Edgar Church, and all of a sudden a newly graded 9.0 Superman 1? And not to mention, we had that what was the Saving Superman comic book that's got graded also, within the last couple years. That was
Fantastic,
it was either like
Aaron.
This was like a 7 or something, wasn't it?
I think it was an 8.0, but it was like, still pretty high grade, like, within the top, say, 3 or 5 copies. And it sort of begs the question. It's like, how safe really is the top of census for this one if you're somebody that's going to spend, $6 million?
That was the funny thing about that Edgar Church. I did not talk about that in my video, but there were 2 8.0s, right? And of Superman number 1, and those were tied as the top of census. The Edgar Church obviously gets like the benefit because it's the white pages and all this kind of stuff. And then they got theirs bumped up to an 8.5, and so they're like, I got the single highest graded, and then get smacked down with this thing now as the 9.0 that's above their book. I bet the owner of that book is not pleased about the.
How could they be? They would be so pissed. Like, it's like you're buying the top of census. You think that you're pretty safe. I mean,
especially with an Edgar Church. Like,
it's been 25 years, since the CGC has been around, basically. So you're thinking like, there's not going to be another copy in there. Although there are always those kind of mythic tales. When I go to the cons and I talk to those old school dealers, every single old school dealer, all the national dealers, they'll come up to me, like, guys in the chat, they'll come up to me and they'll be like, "Oh, swag, like you don't even know, like I know a guy." I know a guy that's got a collection that's like every book's a 9/8. Like they got Batman 1/9/8. They all tell me this. And it's like, I don't know if it's just, them kind of talking it up, or maybe some of them are telling the truth, that there are those like guys that have just been collecting for years and they just don't believe in CGC, or they're just like old school and they
Or you
just
find
want to
out they're
keep it
all
all raw.
restored.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, exactly. That's true. Or they're doing the the dealer grading scale, which is a lot more friendly than that of the actual CGC grading. But I don't know, Manu, what do you think about this one coming out of the woodworks and evaluating it as a grade? And we're going to transition over to your little story here, which is this idea of buying the book, not the grade, even though every time everyone always buys the grade.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about the Superman. It's out of my wheelhouse. I think it's fascinating that it has emerged. I just put something in the chat here. They call them golden goggles. I guess you could also say golden age goggles. But like,
Yeah.
just looking at this book, it's like, it doesn't feel like a 9.0 with all that staining and whatever might be happening at the lower left. But I don't deal in golden age. I don't pretend to understand that. The criteria or how it's applied. So it's out of my wheelhouse. It's fascinating. I'm just an observer. I don't have much of an opinion here. I'm certainly not in the running to take this one home.
If you covered up the label on this one in the 8.5 and you brainwashed everyone that they were never graded, which one sells for more?
Well, yeah, and Mickey, I just sent you a link to a CGC page where they've got a picture of the Superman 1. And
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's better, right? Like presentation wise, like it's a stunner. Like,
yeah, this one,
Edgar Church. Yeah.
I mean, outside of the little
like
pencil on the front.
Well, that's standard. That's Edgar Church. He would often mark the books.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of the markings for him. But yeah,
there
I mean, like that Edgar Church, like that's what they're just known for. They're known for having like these colors. And it's just like, it's an astounding presenting copy of that book. Now it has like, if you look at the grader's notes for the Edgar Church, it's got like some little stains in some places. It's got some little pieces out of some interior, like I think like edges and stuff. So that's why it gets the grade it gets. But man, like presentation wise, that is,
that book looks way better.
They say it has a pushed in staple. Like it does have, that's the bottom staple. It's got that pushed in staple. Yep. But like, that is a stunner of a book. And I mean, if for the same price, I'd rather have that one.
Yeah, I would much rather have that sitting behind me.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, and the other thing to talk about too is, let's say that this didn't have the issues it has going on with it being questionable 9.0. I want to bring up the thing that you emphasized, Ryan, where it's like that was a private sale, for the 5.3 million at a certain time in collecting, which was 2022. And you just, I just don't know. I don't know if we're in that same level still. The fact that, where the comic market is, even at this high end, even though this is the top of census one, and private sales, you can just never really tell, because like, we had conversations about this offline where it's like, a private sale is somebody who wanted it and was willing to pay a certain number, but like, that was the number that they just had to guess that they had to pay for it, versus like, if you're bidding against someone else and you're the only person in the world that was willing to pay 5.3 million for that particular copy, like maybe if it went to auction, there wasn't anyone else in the world that was willing to pay 4 million for it. You know what I mean? So like, if that same person went into it in an auction situation, they might have got it for 4.1 million or whatever the case is. So it's just different when you got a private sale versus whatever this is going to end up being at an auction.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes the auction pays off. Like sometimes you do get that like bidding war, and it shoots up, and you get shocked by certain sales numbers. But yeah, that's why I take that stuff with just a little grain of salt, and especially with a massive book like that, where it's like they put out a press release about it and all this kind of stuff, and it's like when I saw that, like to me, that the whole purpose of that was that and I talk about this like with the risk with a private sale, like if you're buying a book privately and you're setting a record, is that nobody knows what you paid. And so like the next time somebody goes up to buy that book, they're referencing the known sales. And so to me, that was why that press release was made, because somebody was like, I want other people to know what I paid so that there's a reference point out there for that book. And that, I don't know, it doesn't like delegitimize the sale or anything, but it just makes it go, you go like, well, I don't know, like, would this actually do, was the demand out there really for it?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what it goes for. I'm sure we'll report back on it when it actually does go up for sale, which is a couple weeks from now. But again, it always brings up that conversation, which is buy the book, not the grade, although people always end up buying the grade anyways, which brings us to this other little interesting situation that Manu wanted to talk about and kind of point this out. And I feel like after he kind of goes through it, I think, Ryan, you might be able to chime in on this in a fun way, because I know you've had similar situations. But Manu, why don't you tell us about this copy of ASM 316 right here?
Yeah, definitely. And Ryan, yeah, I'm gonna have some questions for you afterwards as well. In fact, I'm gonna have questions for everyone. I'm gonna tie this little bit into a giveaway. I'm gonna give away an ASM 316, a raw copy. And so just hear me out for a second, guys. I wanna talk through something, and I wanna tell you what I've observed, and get your take on it, right? And talk about why this is a problem. So the other day, this 9.8 of an Amazing Spider-Man 316 newsstand sold on eBay, and you can see that it sold at auction, and it achieved $820. That's about half of what they've been going for. They are normally selling between $1,300 and $1,500, and I think there's a recent sale of $1,600. So the fact that this is an $820 sale is a problem in itself, because it might reflect to someone that's researching the data that the market is down, or the book is trending down, something, or maybe not trending, is just one, but it's a low sale and someone's going to use that. So what I want to point out here is, in this picture, right to the right of the main picture, you can see the spine of this book. And perhaps it's difficult for you to see depending on what you're looking, what device you're using here. But there's about 7 or 8, maybe even 9 color-breaking spine ticks there. And then one of the other images is the top left-hand corner. There's a bit of a stain associated with a small tear and a fold. And then the other image is the lower right-hand corner of the front of the book. There's an ever so slight crease, a very tiny dog ear. I don't know if they're still called dog ears when they're that small. But regardless, the reason this book did this number is because it looks awful. Especially, it's not an awful looking book. It's awful for a 9.8. The seller of this book knew as much. And in the listing description, the seller said, be sure to look at all the pictures. You're getting this exact book. So I'm not saying the seller did anything wrong. The seller was fully transparent. But that's why this book achieved that grade. So when you're like, well, this is a really crappy 9.8, somebody might say gift grade, right? And that's a reasonable assumption to make. But then I thought to myself, no sane grader, no grader in their right mind, even on a bad day, I don't think would have given this book a 9.8. Let me take a look a little deeper. And so I actually went into the submission for that this book came out of. And there's probably 11 or 12 books in the submission. Correct me if I'm wrong. But as you can see here, 3 of the books were Amazing Spider-Man 316s.
That's funny. I was going to ask you if I was like, I would look into that. If
100%. And I got some questions for you. I know you're all over this. I know. But, not everyone is aware of everything. Not everyone has the experiences. I think this is really important to talk about, and really important to make sure people know that this kind of thing happens, so that we're aware when we're buying and or selling. But it's also deeper than that. So in any case, people have been putting it together now clearly. There's a 9.8, a 9.2, and an 8.5 in the submission. Now, really quickly, I'll say this. I looked at the 8.5 cert number, pulled it up. Now, you see it's indicated as a Mark Jewelers. The 8.5 actually sold a few weeks ago, and it is the correct 8.5. It looks like an 8.5. The damages indicate this is the 8.5. The damages indicate that it's an 8.5, and also this is in fact a Mark Jewelers. I won't get into how I know that, but this is a Mark Jewelers. So the 8.5 was encapsulated correctly. But in that submission, there's also a 9.2, and the damage on the quote-unquote 9.8 looks like a 9.2. So we can assume, now again, this is all alleged. I don't know. This submission is from 2020. When is it from? 2020. Okay, so a hot market as well. This book in a 9.8 was about $3,000 at that time, right? So I figure with the fact that the 8.5 is correctly encapsulated, the 9.8 looks like a 9.2. The 9.2 probably got swapped out. So it wasn't a gift grade. It's not the grader that made the mistake. It's when it went into the encapsulation area at CGC, whoever's in charge of doing that accidentally put the 9.2 where the 9.8 is supposed to go. Now, here's where this gets... Oh, and I also looked up the cert number for the 9.2 and through Google, and wouldn't you know, I couldn't find any pictures of the 9.2. And the reason I probably couldn't find any pictures of the 9.2 is like, let's pretend in 2020, the original submitter, they know their books. They're sending 3/316s, a Mark Jeweler, so on and so forth. And this is all speculation on my part. If the submitter's out here, if anyone knows more about this, correct me if I'm wrong. But let's theorize here. So the submission goes out with 3/316s, and it comes back home to the original submitter, and they realize, what the hell? The 9.8 has my 9.2 in it, and my 9.2 encapsulation has my 9.8 in it. Now, the right thing to do is the right thing to do. You're supposed to send this back to CGC, have them correct it, so you don't screw people, and you don't know how many times this is going to screw someone. But since I can't find pictures of that 9.2, and clearly it hasn't been corrected because the 9.8 still has the 9.2 in it, I'm left to assume that this original submitter may have sold the 9.8 with the 9.2 in it as a 9.8, right? Which is not a great thing to do. And the 9.2 that had the 9.8 in it.
Nice way of putting it.
It's, yeah, it is. It's the nicest I could possibly be about it. Probably cracked out the clean 9.8 out of the 9.2 encapsulation, resubmitted it, got a 9.8 and sold that as well. Right, so here we are now, many, many years later, both of these books recently selling, the 8.5 and the fake 9.8, two different sellers on eBay. So I don't have any reason to believe this is the original submitter. I don't know. Now, there's multiple issues here that, well, first, I just want everyone to be aware. But this is what I mean when I say buy the book, not the grade. Look at the book, right? That book, Spidey Hits, Justin, what's going on? Oh, I got some things I want to say about you in a moment, too. Congratulations on opening the shop. So, you know, this book, though, that now has an $820 sale because it's clearly not a 9.8. That's a problem for people that own clean 9.8s because it's an ill representation of the value. But let's think really quickly about the person that bought that book, the 9.8. What is the thinking on buying that 9.8 on eBay? Did you just think to yourself, let's say it's for your personal collection, right? And cutting to the chase, or spoiler, there's no good reason to buy that book. That book shouldn't be sold. It shouldn't be bought. It shouldn't be exist. At some point, someone has to eat it and stop this chain of, you know, the shit rolling downhill, or whatever the saying is. So in any case, let's put ourselves in the shoes of the person that bought that book. Are you thinking to yourself, well, dude, I just got a great deal on a 9.8. No, you didn't. You overpaid for a 9.2. You know, you literally bought like a $100 book for $800, but you're thinking you saved 50% on the price of a 9.8, but you didn't buy a 9.8. So if it's for your personal collection, what are you doing? Just lying to yourself? That's weird. And if you're buying that book because you're thinking, dude, I'm gonna sell this for double my money because it's in a 9.8 encapsulation. I just got it for $820. Well, now you're voluntarily going to screw someone else. You know, your ambition has no ethics involved. You're thinking, I just got this for half price. I'm going to sell it as a 9.8 to someone else. I'm going to double my money. Both of those are pretty shit reasons to be buying that book. You know, to lie to yourself that you just got a good deal on a 9.8 to PC it because it's not a 9.8, or to sell it as a 9.8 because it's not a 9.8. Now, the original submitter, obviously some ethics involved there as well. We know the issue wasn't corrected because the 9.8 book has a 9.2 in it, so on and so forth, right? So I wanted to detail this because it's very important for us to be aware of it. I also need to be messaging GPA, Go Collect, and Cover Price to have them remove that sale, because that sale is recorded. And I think with this evidence, it makes sense to pull that sale. I don't think it should be represented there. But what do you guys think about the buyer of the book? First, I want to ask you, like, what do you think the point is of buying this book?
So, I mean, I think that there's a couple possibilities there. I mean, so like, at least like from the side you're looking at it from, I think, only the possibility that the person knows what they were getting, like, and that they know that that really isn't a 9.8 inside that slab. And I mean, the whole purpose for buying graded books, right, is that, or not the whole purpose, but a big part of the purpose is that so that you don't have to understand how that book, or how to grade, right? And so you may, like, the person may fully not realize that that is actually a potentially lower grade book. And maybe they're buying it thinking like, man, I got this thing for a great deal. I'm planning to send it in to the McFarlane signing. They're going to send it in they're going to get a 9.2 back, and they're going to be like, what the hell happened to my book? It was a 9.8. It came back a 9.2. And then we're going to see that post sometime like in like 6 months on Reddit or whatever. And we'll be like, oh, it was this, you know? And so, I mean, I do think it is very possible that the person, like, not everybody looks at the level of detail in these books that, you know, that we sometimes do.
Sure.
And so I think it very easily could be somebody who just didn't see it. They're going to get it when they see it in person. They're going to be, maybe they'll be upset about it, or maybe they won't even realize. And, you know, 10 years from now, they'll sell it and they'll think like, oh, it's a 9.8, you know, they won't know. And so I think it is very possible that this, that book, or that the buyer had no idea. Now, the original submitter, I agree. I think it very likely was the original submitter, like, knew what they got and then resubmitted. I mean, we had a really high profile example of this last year, and it was that Marvel Spotlight 5.
Marvel Spotlight 5.
It came back a 9.8, and it was like the 9.2 or the 9.0, and they got switched, you know, and like, that's a $400,000 book. Like, that was one of those things where I went like, what are you doing, CGC? You know, like, how do you screw up a book like that? And like, this is like a much less expensive book. And so if they can screw up a book like that, they can screw up an ASM 316. And that's the type of stuff that, I mean, I hate seeing that. Like, that's the quality control. And I know, like, talk with people, like, I know they grade thousands of books a day. I get it. Like, mistakes can happen, but those types of mistakes should never happen if you have the correct controls in place, ever. Like, I just don't get
that's
it.
the type of thing. That's the type of thing that process should be able to solve it. Like, you should be able to make it, you know, seamlessly, you know, never having a book find its way into a different holder. You know, like, you understand if there's a subjective nature to grading, if somebody says like, oh, they call a 9.4 book a 9.8 or whatever, that's one thing. But this clearly seems to be, based on how you laid it out, Manu, like some sort of swap situation. And yeah, it's really unfortunate. And I guess, you know, like you already said, the moral of the story is you got to buy the book, not the grade. But I don't know if anyone, I don't know if you can really help everybody out there, because like, not everybody wants to learn to grade. And a lot of people are always going to be casual collectors, you know, like, not everyone's going to be as obsessed with comic books as we are, or everybody in the chat, you know, is. If you're watching the show,
that's arguably
you're
one of the coolest Venom
you know?
covers of all time, right? And so that could easily just be someone who's a Venom fan that's like, I want that book, and has no idea about comics.
That's heartbreaking, right? So it sounds like through this, CGC made a mistake, right? Someone in the encapsulation department screwed up. But the person that really screwed up, or intentionally screwed everyone else, is that original submitter that made the decision not to correct it, right? To double dip. Like, that's not a victory to think, oh shoot, I just got 2 9.8s worth out of this submission. That's like an actual decision someone's making to be an asshole.
That's the unfortunate part of this business, is that happens not a small amount of time. And it's sometimes with big books, like, I mean, like, it was, what was it, like 2 or 3 years ago, there was that Suspense Comics 3, where it was a incomplete CBCS. Somebody cracked it out, married the interior to make sure that it was complete, resubmitted to CGC, got a blue label, and did not correct it. It was only corrected when somebody on the CGC forums was looking up the books and was like, hey, that used to be a CBCS 0.5 that was missing interior. Now it's all of a sudden a blue label 1.0 that's complete, you know? And it's like, I get it. Like, CGC probably should have caught that, but also the person that submitted that and got that grade is a piece of garbage. You know, like, they're like, oh, I got one over on them, I'm going to take my money and run, instead of doing the right thing.
The problem is that people can play dumb. Sellers can play dumb, you know? Well, hey, I just got the book back, guys. You know, look, they called it a 9.8. I don't know what to tell you. Hey, it's whatever. I put it up for auction. People pay what they want to pay. You know, similar with the Suspense 3. Hey, man, I just got a CBCS. I just cracked it out. They put it back in the blue label. I don't know.
It's the same as the guys that put in the tattoos in the ASM 238s. You know, it's all that same garbage. And it's just like, I hate that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it really bugs me.
But the point I'm making there is that, you know, sellers can always play dumb, and there's a plausible deniability with how they decide to operate with this stuff. But this is why CGC, it's on them to just never let things like this happen, because That's what everyone's paying them for. That's why they're a multi-million dollar company. That's what they guarantee, that the collectible is authentic and that it is the collectible that is in the slab. Like that's the one thing that they guarantee. So they have to protect everybody from themselves in a way.
All right.
That's the point of their company.
Real
The,
quick about the giveaway. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The interesting twist on this would be if that was a PSA book, PSA would buy it back with a PSA grade guarantee.
That's
And
actually great.
that was something, because I think I was watching your channel recently where you had clips from an interview with them, and like that is, for all the crap that PSA gets, like that is awesome that they do that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
awesome
not
that they
like
do that.
it's not like they're just handing out checks. You're gonna have
Yeah,
to fight with them a little bit for it, for sure. But I mean, PSA has a grade guarantee on everything that they grade, that if they messed up, they will buy it back at current market value. So if that was a PSA book and that buyer got that, they could probably submit that to PSA and be like, I don't think this is actually a 9.8 WTF. And PSA would potentially buy it back from them.
Well, shoot, if the buyer's out there of this book, or if you know the buyer for this book, I would like to request that you inform the buyer of his purchase if he might be a casual collector unaware that he just bought an $80 book for $800. But I would be very curious to know what CGC would say if this is communicated to CGC, the submission information is presented to CGC, and sort of what's been detailed here is detailed there. It's hard to come to any other conclusion, right? It's pretty obvious what went on here as far as I'm concerned. And I'd be interested in knowing if, CGC could be motivated to participate in some sort of a buyback guarantee, even if it isn't in writing in their fine print. It's the right thing to do. So let us know if that happens.
I've commented on that before, where like there are certain books that are out there. There's that Amazing Fantasy 15, the 7.5 restored, where it's the one they graded in like 2000 or 2001, where it has a repop cover. And so it's like, it would be an NG today, but they had different grading standard in their first year. They gave it a 7.5. If I was CGC, when that book's out there, I would buy it. I'd be like, get that thing off the market. We don't want it out there anymore. Like that's what I would do. But I mean, I never get the impression that that's what happens.
It would open Pandora's box for them, because if you did it for this one, you'd have to do it for other. Though I will say, if this was a PSA book, if you do one of those, they make you sign an NDA, so you would not be able to make it public that happened. But that would potentially open up Pandora's box.
Just send it to us and we'll make it public. Just send it to us and we'll make it public here on the Ungraded Truth podcast.
Yeah. I mean, look at how much people had to go to war for CGC for Swapgate. And that was like a legit thing. I mean, I don't even know. Has everyone actually been made whole on that, or are people still fighting for money?
I know a number of people that have been paid out. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure
I know that
you've submitted books to them. I'm guessing they've paid you, but I haven't looked at that list in a while. I think there are a lot of books on there that still are not crossed out. Like, there's a lot of those books, I think, still floating around out there.
So let me just put the details for this out there real quick. So since that's about a 316, this is our friend Justin Spidey Hits was in the chat a moment ago, and he sent a super chat. Thank you, my man. And he just opened his Hobby Hits Cards and Collectibles is a shop.
Manu, you're always stepping on my thing. I'm gonna do the thing. I'm gonna read the super chat. I'm gonna give Justin the big sponsorships shine. Okay, you're doing the giveaway. I do the super chats.
All right, you got it. So the giveaway is because of the 316. And so what I want to do for this is, what I was saying, the reason that came into play, the reason that I started talking about that is because I have a history of doing live streams with Justin, and on Justin's channel, I love giving things away. We all love giving things away. It's a bit different from what these guys do. These guys don't really, I don't know, Swag gives some stuff away. I don't know about these two down here. I never really seen them give shit away. But
I used to give stuff away.
I'll tell you the background I come from. I come from engaging with the chat, engaging with the community. I'm from the community and giving things to the community. So since that's a 316 sort of story we told, and I want that story to spread, anyone that's willing to leave their opinion from the original submitter's perspective, or the seller or the buyer, any opinion on that in the comment section for this video, or any video that might be clipped from this, any comment section, if you leave an opinion about that to create the awareness for that sort of thing, I'm going to count that as an entry towards winning this. Now, this is not a 9.8. I don't even know if it's a 9.2, but it's a nice presenting raw newsstand ASM 316, and it's coming in a Mylar and an E-Gerber. And also, since this is the first full cover, you might as well get the actual first Venom cover too, because that little face right there, whatever I'm pointing at, but 315, right? This one. You might as well get a 315 newsstand with it as well. So both of these will go to somebody that leaves a comment. So in the comment section, when this video posts for real, just provide an opinion on that. It could be about ethics. It could be about whatever. And I will count all those and use a randomizer. And on the next episode of The Ungraded Truth, I'll pick a winner. And I'll ship it to you. You could be anywhere. You could be anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter.
There you have it, guys. Leave a comment down below on the VOD or leave it on the clip. When eventually we do that, you can head over to our channels, or you can head over to the Ungraded Truth YouTube, subscribe to that channel. In fact, I'm going to make it a requirement that you must subscribe to the Ungraded Truth channel, the #1 channel in all of the universe, the fastest growing channel in the world, Ungraded Truth. Subscribe to it. Get your chance to win that book, that very nice giveaway from Manu, and let us know what you think about the whole 316 situation. Now,
Yes,
Manu,
please.
I was just giving you a little.
Derek's in the
bit of-
chat getting negative submissions for the negative entries for this drawing.
And follow my Instagram too, please. The 9.9 News
Yes.
Instagram. Thank you.
all the guys info is in the description down below. Hopefully I got it right this time, but give everybody a follow, give everyone a sub, okay? And give Spidey Hits Marvel Cards and Collectibles. Shout out to Justin. Give him a what's up and a sub. Justin says, can Hobby Hits Cards and Collectibles sponsor the show? Absolutely, you can sponsor the show. I will shill so hard for Justin here. If you guys don't know, Justin has his YouTube channel, which is the Spidey Hits YouTube channel. Go over there and sub it up. But maybe more importantly, he just recently opened up the Hobby Hits Cards and Collectibles store out in the Louisiana area. And that's a tremendous accomplishment for him. A huge Marvel card collector, and a good friend of the channel. And like Manu said, a good dude he's done a lot of streams with. So if you're in the Louisiana area, hopefully I will be there out there one day. Be sure to go over to his store. Support it. Go over and check it out. He mentioned in his video, which he did a great job putting this video together, that he's going to be eventually expanding to other card games and maybe sports cards and stuff like that. So it's going to be an awesome store, out there. So give him a follow, go check it out. And yeah.
And thank
shout
you,
out to Justin.
Yeah, big shout out. It's amazing.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our interesting segment regarding the buy the book, not the grade. Again, we'll see what happens if people buy the Superman 1, at least the current 9.9 version of it, or the 9.0 version of it. Excuse me, I got ahead of myself. But one thing I thought was really interesting, and maybe we can kind of quickly touch on this, is I mentioned at the beginning that this is going to be the flagship book of this auction, the November signature auction that's coming up with Heritage. But one other little interesting thing I noticed about the auction is how many 9.9s are actually going up for sale. And I feel like this is more than usual. Maybe this is always the case, that in the signature auctions, there's a handful of 9.9s, but counting them here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 9.9 seems like a lot to me. I don't know if that's typical, but it feels like time to get all of these old labeled 9.9s, like this one right here, and this one right here, and this one right here, or at least a couple other of them I think were the old label.
Somebody
And
buy this one from me, please. Please, thank you. It's a 9.9.
got to get them on the market. And I just thought that this was interesting, as it relates to kind of what we talked about earlier in the show, which was, the expansion of the 9.9 and 10.0 grading. I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts on this, or is this more than normal, or am I just kind of tripping here?
I mean, there are
People
usually
all those PSA 10 set.
there are normally some 9.9s out there. I mean, in these, but like you can see, like a few of them are definitely the ones that are like pretty common, like the Secret Wars 8, the Wolverine 1. Like there's so many of those, and they seem to keep getting added. Spawn 1.
That's an interesting one. Thor 337. I don't know how many are first beta ray build.
And that's a
kind of
newsstand. I wouldn't be surprised if that's like a 1 of 1.
Yeah, that one's kind of interesting.
I don't know how
You got
many
the,
298 99s there are, because like I imagine that one's fairly similar to ASM 301, where it's like that white cover. It's just like brutal to get some of those grades, but yeah, there's
yeah, and
some cool
Alpha
books
Flight
there.
199, which was kind of interesting. Again, I don't know how many of these are off the top of my head, but it's something I noticed. And then, of course, in this auction as well, we got the Batman: The Killing Joke in a PSA 10-0, which was, if you guys know Jeff Golden Age Brewer, shout out to him. This is actually his book, and he made a post about how this one was going up for sale. But like the X-Men 266, I'm very interested to see what this one ends up going for as well. Do you guys have any thoughts on this book?
That is one of the ones I am definitely watching, but also one of the ones that I feel like is, of the 99s that are out there, or the 10s, I guess, it's one of the riskier ones because it's a square bound. And so there could be like, that's one where like the census on that book, who knows where that census ends up after a year or 2 years on the PSA side. Like, especially if this sees a big number. If this sees a big number, I bet you will have a bunch of people trying to cross over, books, and they'll probably crack them out first. I don't know how successful crossovers are generally, like to PSA, but maybe crack them out and just send in like blocks of like 25 Killing Jokes, trying to pull in, a 10-0 or something like that. But yeah, definitely one that I'm interested in, but I would my personal opinion, I would be pretty cautious with it because, man, it's a square bound and there could be an influx of them.
So this one of those ones that it had like a big public sale. Maybe you already just said this. It had a big public sale, but then it had a comic link sale that didn't get recorded. That was like way less. So
it had the public sale of like 28 grand or something, and then a comic link sale of like 6.
Yeah,
I just think it shouldn't be compared to that 28,000. That's an unfair comparison. Like I said on the last show, I don't think a CGC 10 could come to market and match that previous sale.
Yeah, it's going to be a situation like that where if people don't remember the 6K sale, then it's like, let's say this book sells for 6K or whatever the case is. It's going to be like, oh my God, down from 28K. You know what I mean? But it's going to be like, actually,
I've already made the thumbnail. I mean,
well, very, very interesting stuff. I mean, speaking of cross grading, a couple other topics here to just quickly talk about. As you mentioned, cross grading. We did have that story that came out. I did a video about this one where we had the More Fun Comics 73, of course, the first appearance of Speedy, which is what everybody knows this book for. Just kidding. First appearance of Aquaman and Green Arrow. That has been around the block, within the last year or so, has gone from a CBCS 4.5 to a PSA 4.5 that went at sale at Heritage just a few months back. And then I guess the buyer, Atomic Comics, decided to crack that thing out and send it over to a CGC slab and got the little grade bump to a 5.0 light tan to off-white pages. But it was interesting, checking out all the different graders notes. And I don't think that we had a book that was like similar that went to all the different grading companies. But did you guys have any just quick thoughts on this one? Just, being the town bicycle, as I called it, jumping from all three grading companies.
I think CGC did it on purpose so they can outshine PSA with this book.
I mean, I don't know if that is that outshining though. Like if you're putting a higher grade on it, like I don't know if it's it's hard for me to say if that's worse or better. Like it almost.
Do we have the graders
like
pulled up for these?
Let me pull them up.
The grader's notes on the 5.0 doesn't call out as much as the previous grader notes did, and the CBCS and PSA grader notes are like very similar.
I was kind of curious if there was anything that was addressed between the 4.5 and the 5. Like the 4.5, when I saw it in the PSA slab, it felt like it had like a bit of a spine roll, like a little kind of like twist to it. And I don't see that. Like if that had been on the CGC one, I feel like it might have gotten put into a magazine case. And the fact that it fit into a standard case makes me wonder if there was maybe some like minor corrections done. I don't know if that's worthy of making it a 5 versus a 4.5. But yeah, I mean, some little things like that, but
I quickly pulled up my video so we can kind of reference it to it. But it was interesting to see that this is the PSA's version of their grader notes for this book. And then compared to CBCS, which if I can get the video load, you guys can see it's a little bit small, but they had their grader notes there. And then the CGC one was a little more sparse in general. they didn't make mention of the clear sort of, what would you call it, the dust shadow that was on the left side of the book. But there they just sort of said, reader's crease front cover, tear with crease left bottom back cover, stain center of back cover, and chip out of left top of back cover.
I also feel like CGC never really seems to give sizes of things. Like maybe they do, but just generally, I don't notice that. Whereas like you saw in like the PSA and the CBCS, they'll say like 10-inch or 3-inch or 1-inch or whatever. And the CGC tends to be much more generic.
I would expect the PSA and CBCS notes to be similar, since a lot of the head graders from CBCS are PSA graders now. So that makes sense that they would kind of align a little more closely.
Yeah. Very interesting to see that. But, you know, I don't know. It'll be fun to see if more books get sort of crossed over. And I think that this is just another kind of perk and fun part of the hobby, is to just see books going from one to the other. And then, you know, my sort of feeling is that when and if this book eventually sells, which I assume that it probably will sell. I mean, Atomic Comics is a dealer, you know, effectively. So I'm sure that this book is going to go up for sale again. We might see it, you know, this 5.0. And I have a feeling that this 5.0 is kind of probably command a higher price, you know, being that it's, you know, by the number, not the book. And it's just hilarious to me, right, that you have this same book going from one slab to the next. But as it goes from CBCS, it gets a higher number of PSA, and then it gets a higher number, probably, most likely, with CGC as a 5.0, but same book by the number.
But yeah, right. I mean, I like the look of it in the CGC slab. I mean, like the PSA slab, I'll keep harping on it until hopefully they do something about it. They put it's in that larger slab, and I don't like it.
It looked good. Stop
it. I've said, like Golden Age books, the ones like, and I'm kind of pointing, but
that
you can't see me
picture's
pointing.
Not great.
When they fill out the case, like the CBCS one looks good too. Like it's that extra gap that you have between the edge and the book. Like that's one of the things I love about Golden Age books in the CGC and in the CBCS cases. Like they fill out all the space, and you don't get that on the PSA slabs. So I hope they get to a point where they don't have that, but we'll see.
So interestingly enough, since a lot of these Golden Age books are like, you know, 1.5s and 2.5s, it being so close to the edge is not as large a concern as it would be if these were 9.8s and 9.9s and stuff. You would not want them that close to the edge if it were a high grade sort of conversation.
Well, but it's still the same. It's just if they have to, it's what inner well they use. So they have different size inner wells, and it's what can fit inside there. And there's a max limit. I don't remember offhand what it is on what you can fit inside a CGC case. So because there are absolutely like Promise Collection pedigree and that kind of stuff, like 9.8 type books, 9.6 type Golden Age books that fill out the case like that.
Well,
but I got a shill for my CGC stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, obviously, we got the biggest shill in the world with Automatic Comics, who is on the CGC payroll, getting paid millions of dollars just to pump up their books.
God, I wish.
Speaking of strange grading companies to be using for high value items, Rob, there was this sale that happened just the other week, the Babe Ruth, I believe I'll call this the rookie card, in a SGC 3 that sold for $4 million, a huge number, except it's not huge compared to, I guess, the previous sale, which was $7 million. I don't know if this is the biggest drop in one sale to the next in terms of a nominal number, because it's literally $3 million less in any collectible ever. But what was the chatter on this one? And what do you think about it?
A couple things. Not a rookie card. Two, SGC for a vintage card like this is 100% legit. They are known for pre-war. That's like their area of expertise. You see, I mean, SGC holds the record. I think the top few slots for most expensive cards sold ever are SGC slabs. This one's weird because it's not technically a card. It's like a checklist thing that was in a newspaper, I think. So it's not pack pulled. So a lot of people don't really know what
was it, an auction or was it a private sale? Like what was
it? Was a heritage auction.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been like, was the 7 million sale the incorrect one or even legit? So no one really knows what to do with this. But
Is Mr. Wonderful?
Can I get a clarification on this?
What they're bidding?
On the $7 million sale, was it the same card? Like literally the same
it's
card?
the exact same cert number.
Gotcha. And so when did that $7 million sale happen? Do you know?
COVID. It was like 2022, I think.
Okay. I mean, it sort of feels like, and I don't know, maybe you can.
Some people are speculating like it's the end of the year. Was someone just like, I had a really good year in crypto, I need a $3 million loss on the books? There's been a lot of chatter about that. Like, if someone's just literally like, okay, what do I have laying around that I could take a loss on paper?
Tax harvest.
Yeah, that's insane. It could be a tax harvest situation, I guess, if you're playing in that markets, which again, to the topic,
if you're buying and selling
show,
$7 million trading cards, you're living in a different world anyway. Like, you probably are like, oh yeah, I could just like sell this card for a $3 million loss.
Is it not a different world, Rob? Because as we've already established with the title of our show, collectibles are for rich people. This is the world. This is the world for the rich. So there you have it. Well, last little thing to talk about before we really wrap up. I just kind of wanted to, ask Rob about this one. If you guys don't know, this is my hot little tip right here. Okay. Since we're in a bubble, you might as well speculate on more things. But League of Legends Riftbound, their trading card game just came out. If you guys know the Arcane show on Netflix that's related to the video game League of Legends, now they have their own sort of Magic the Gathering type of card that dropped. It's just like Magic the Gathering, same sort of thing. I mean, different game in general, but you got your booster boxes, you got your card sets, all this stuff. And a lot of craziness going on. They had their pre-release decks that are already selling for 7,000, slash price is 6,000. The hobby boxes or the booster boxes are retailing they came out at 120. Now they're selling at 190. The card game just came out on Wednesday, like officially to stores. So the aftermarket's already going pretty crazy. This is
I watch a channel called Twice Baked Jake. He does like Pokemon stuff, but he opened a box of League of Legends like yesterday, and he said he bought a pre-release for like $100, and he said it was going for like 175 or 180. Now it sounds like the hit rate is pretty high in those boxes.
Yeah. So what I learned is their ultimate chase card is they have these ones right here. This is they have artist edition cards that have this autographed on it. And this is kind of like the big hits you can pull from the box, and they got a sold price of $1,400. So I don't know. Interesting new set. I don't know, Rob, if you have any feeling about this particular one. Who cares?
These new TCGs are always super speculative off the top, and then it just depends on. Most of them really don't catch legs. I mean, in the history of the last 30 years, there's really only been two, and how many have come and gone other than Magic and Pokemon? You could say now in the current market that One Piece is probably a pretty decent they're on the radar now. They've been around for enough years that they're taken semi-seriously. But like, how many different versions of Dragon Ball sets have we seen over the years? How many other random TCGs have come and gone that people don't even remember anymore?
That's what I'm curious about. If people actually play the Dragon Ball stuff, if they're just looking for the cool cards, like if that's really all you're doing.
So I would just say this, and this is again is like me being somewhat serious but very biased. Like, League of Legends is so massive. It's literally like one of the biggest games in the world, especially internationally. Brazil and China and Korea. And Riot, I wouldn't bet against Riot. I mean, like, look at like Arcane, on Netflix. Like, look at how good it is. And the game itself is actually a quality game. Like, they are a game company. So I think that the player base will be really strong with this. And then so too will the collector side of it follow. And I don't know. I just think that's unlike, say, Flesh and Blood, or like some of these other like random Kickstarter games like MetaZoo and these like other trading card things. Like, this has like an actual IP that I kind of believe in. I just think it's an interesting play, personally.
It just depends on how they handle it. A lot of times these companies come in and they don't know the TCG market, and they screw up by not managing the print runs correctly and kill it before it even gets a chance to get rolling. You saw that with like Disney Lorcana came out and they didn't print enough, and it caused a bunch of drama, and then they printed too much and it caused a bunch of drama. and now it's a couple of years later and they're still trying to kind of figure things out. I think Flesh and Blood had some of those problems as well. So
Yeah.
There's these companies that don't normally navigate these waters sometimes get in their own way and screw something up that could actually be like successful if they just kind of had a better idea of what they were doing. And maybe Riot does. I'm not saying that they don't. And I know League of Legends is super popular. I play a crap ton of Dota, so I'm super aware of League of Legends and its popularity. So,
and this might be a tough time to come out though, because like if you've got people that are buying up all these boxes and everything and just like ripping packs or flipping stuff, and it may be really hard to actually build a TCG player base because nobody can get the cards to actually like play the game. And so that could be just because of how hot the card market is right now, that could be a problem too.
Yeah.
TCG is also weird too, because you don't even necessarily need a player base in some regards, because they're almost treated just like sports cards. Like people just want to collect the cards. Like tons of people that buy Pokemon and Magic don't play the game at all.
That's what I wonder about with like that's like for me, like I own Pokemon cards and I don't play the game. But I wonder how much that like having that underlying base that does play the game helps keep things going when you have the down times. You know, because like there's always those swings, and that base is what probably keeps you alive when things get a little rough.
Yeah, you definitely need both, but I think a smaller TCG like could potentially just carve out a niche of, we have a very small player base, but we have a large collector base, as long as they're not legitimately trying to compete against Pokemon and Magic. If you're doing that out of the gate, you're making a mistake anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just think that, again, who knows? Maybe it's going to come crashing and burning, but like, I do think that they're set up pretty well because they have those other touch points. Like, the League of Legends as a video game might get people wanting to play the card game. So at least you have like some crossover of audience there. And then you have this Netflix show that people will just be fans of the character Jinx, and they'll just be like, "Oh, I'll just buy the Jinx card because I just want to collect it," And so I think that those elements make it interesting to me. I mean, I know I'm going to be buying a couple of boxes.
I mean, I want to see what some of that art ends up. Like the art was pretty cool, and some like when I was watching him open those boxes, like there's some really cool cards in there. So I'd be curious to see if those ever pop up for sale, or maybe they're already up on what is it, like I can't remember the name of the art sale site. Like maybe there's already stuff up there that's for sale, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see like what those maybe end up pulling in.
Yeah, and I've already been. Oh, go ahead.
The counterpoint to the argument swag would be like, how many Marvel TCGs did they try? And that has a massive IP base, and those all failed.
Totally.
I mean, Star Wars has had one. Star Trek has had one. Like every massive IP has had a TCG. Star Wars has had multiples, and they've all fallen flat.
But my only counter to the counter would be, because Riot Games is a game company, and they're
a video game company. That's a big difference.
It's a big difference. You're right. But who knows? They might be able to actually make a good game, and if the game can live on its own, then that might be enough to at least get that fundamental player base that makes it an interesting collectible eventually. But I think with that, we've been going just about 2 hours, and I feel like it's probably time for us to wrap up episode 2 of the Ungraded Truth show, the #1 show in the world with the fastest growing audience, the fastest growing YouTube channel, which of course you guys need to go to and subscribe. The Ungraded Truth at The Ungraded Truth, youtube.com/@TheUngradedTruth. Find it, sub it up, go enter Manu's giveaway, and give yourself a chance to win, that 316. But, gentlemen, it was another great show, another one in the books. Where can people find you? What do you got going on? Anything else to say before we tune out? I'll leave it open to you guys.
I mean, the first thing I got to do is I just got to start like making some stuff, that you can grab like screenshots.
Yeah. We need thumbnails here, guys. Give me thumbnails.
I'm so gonna really upset Ryan and like shocked Ryan, and I don't know, like you can grab those and use those for the the thumbnails. But yeah, I mean, I haven't put out quite as many videos the last couple of weeks, maybe like 1 or 2 weeks, but I had one out on the Superman one, and I talk about like the action one and some other things related to that. If you want to go check that one out, that came out earlier today.
Rob, Manu?
Neocards and Comics. You can find me on all the various social platforms if you want mostly card takes with an occasional pop culture / comic book video thrown in.
Do you even collect comic books?
Someone asked that in chat, and I was
know.
like,
collects.
hold on a second. No, I don't collect comic books at all.
That's zero.
Let me get that
Nope.
pressman, though.
Don't care about comic books at all.
I just want to make sure I gave you a chance to point those out back there.
Rob, the CGC shill, just all CGC on his wall behind him.
Oh wait,
He's
hold on,
got PSA. I
got a PSA
Oh,
prototype.
there it is.
There we go.
Oh yeah, prototype. There you go. Yeah. When is the prototype going to be collectible? All right, Manu, take us home. What do you got going on? Where can people find you? Let us know.
Come hang out with me on Instagram, please. The 9.9 Newsstand. That would mean a lot. Thank you, all our friends who hung out. I will work on the audio. I have no idea what's going on. I'm working on it, I promise. Comic Book Investments. Dave is with us. He says it's a 10 show. Dave, what's going on, my man? Hey, I want to argue with you on a screen sometime. Let's make that happen, please. Like, just I want to have a good time, and I want to disagree with you live. I think it'd be a blast. So, but anyway, great show, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for hanging out. We'll see you in a few weeks.
And I'll shill it a little bit. Guys, CBB Auctions. I got a promo code. You know, you can use this. Check out their auction. They got it going on. Things end tomorrow. If you want to use promo code SWAG, SWAG, you'd save 5%. Think about the numbers here. Think about this. If you spend $5 billion and I'm saving you 5%, think of how much money you're saving.
We demand a cut of this. You're using our likeness for this advertisement.
Yeah, what's this? This is a swag sponsor, not an ungraded.
All right, we got to end the show, guys. It's been a wonderful show. Have a great Saturday night. This is the Ungraded Truth
You're
Podcast.
catching on.
We'll catch you on the next one. Great show, guys. Thanks so much for hanging. Peace out. Detective Comics set a record for 1.8 million. Nobody really cares.
Who are annoyed that people are asking them questions, is this book banned? That question didn't exist a year ago.
Somebody's submitting like 25 vintage books and getting 15 9.9s.
We always think, how could it ever get crazier? And then it always does.